along those lines, we're talking about like kind of landmark moments and conservation. Something that comes up whenever we're talking about forestry is the Migratory Birds Act.
Right.
So you probably actually know more about that than I do. So could you have a synopsis of that?
Well, historically, people ate a lot of birds, and they shot a lot of birds. They marketed them. They shipped them in barrels to Boston.
Yeah.
And presumably the feathers kept them from decaying. I'm not sure how long it took to, send a barrel of birds to Boston. And, they concentrated on the big birds, of course, like the waterfowl and the shorebirds, things like the Eskimo curlew. They were good eating.
The curlew, this is like a flightless Arctic bird, is it?
No, it's a shorebird.
Okay,
It's a flighted bird.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, they were where the hunting effort was concentrated on the bigger things. But, they also shot just anything that moved. And they did, shoot the passenger pigeon, which is now extinct.
Yes,
There's a really nice article about that in the Island magazine by the late Jeff Hogan.
Okay.
And basically, they nested in colonies, sort of the way a pigeon would do today, related.
And like a rookery type?
Yes, so they could have like thousands. And they would have like kind of a flimsy nest on a horizontal limb, which I picture to be the beech tree because they tend to be kind of flat.
Yeah.
And they would just have one or two eggs. And they probably ate the beech mast as well.
Oh, I think the a slight segue, but beech has been very heavily impacted by an invasive disease.
Oh yes.
Yeah, the beech bark disease.
Yeah.
And
now it has the
canker.
The canker, but also there's a weevil which is really killing the beech right now. That has come from Europe.
And beech is one of the most important large seed producing species.
Yes.
Oak is there as well, but I mean, it's not remotely as abundant as beech.
No, I don't think it was ever as abundant. No. Supposedly the beech was 80% of the forest in
this
some
is some
descriptions.
Of Doug Sobey's work.
Well, it might have been like in John Stewart, his book from 1806, but
more of a primary source.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I hope I'm right. But
you're giving people some pretty good confidence intervals here.
Yes, and but Doug did look at the beech today, and he estimated that it's only about 4% of the forest now.
Contemporaneously.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right. Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, most of the deforestation has been in the well-drained soil.
Yeah.
And that's where the hardwood forests grow, but good potato land.
Yes, except for those red maples.
Red maple's doing just fine.
Yeah, that's right. So back to the
Migratory Birds Act.
The migratory birds. Yeah, so there was a lot of market hunting, and it wasn't just occurring on PEI; it was occurring everywhere.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so that is why the passenger pigeon was
extinct.
Yes,
consumed
it was
to death.
completely annihilated.
Yes.
I think it was by 1914. And also the shorebird hunt in general was a concern to some of the naturalists and people who cared down through the states there. So somehow the Canada and the U.S. got together and passed the Migratory Birds Convention Act.
Birds,
so they made a convention.
Borders, yes.
Yeah. In Europe, they still don't have a convention on migratory birds, they still shoot them and eat them in some places.
Well, my dad still shoots wild geese, Canada goose. No. Yeah, but within a season.
But that's not a concern because
there's plenty.
There's plenty of them, and especially when we have them locally, breeding locally. I think they're looked at as more of a nuisance in a lot of cases. especially in
They can
city
cover a lawn.
parks and so on.
They can cover a lawn.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're big. They're majestic, though. I mean, I
Oh,
was
yes.
actually I was down in Kings County, just southeast of Montague, and I was walking down an old logging road, and what was, I think, just a couple of years ago, a relatively flat, shallow wetland had been dammed up by a beaver, active lodge there, and so there's probably 18 inches of differential there now, and a lot of Canada geese there. They were squawking at me to leave.
Right.
But just these, like, I mean, I think so much of the endemic wildlife that we have here, it's so commonplace that you forget how spectacular it is. But I mean, beavers especially, like, I mean, what an animal to pick as your national symbol. I mean, you couldn't aspire to be any more productive than one of those guys. They're incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, they are incredible.
Yeah. So then, I mean, that's what a nice thing to learn about, is that a cooperative conservation effort between Canada and the United States. And so the Migratory Birds Act, as I understand it, the sort of where the rubber hits the road, is that now it's illegal to disrupt the nesting
That's right.
of a migratory bird.
Yes. Yeah.
No matter where it is.
Yes, and basically to take a migratory bird, to kill it.
Oh, to hunt.
Unless, of course,
There's a
there's
season.
regulations, a regulated season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But yes, the smaller birds are, they're not being threatened by gunshot in Canada. But when they get down through South America, some of them are still, being shot.
Sure.
And things like, well, maybe 30 years ago, osprey were being shot in the Caribbean islands and so on.
Do the osprey that we have here migrate down to?
Oh, yeah. They
that's
go
incredible.
down. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had some band returns from that
Okay.
area. So bandit birds were shot and then the band was turned in.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty incredible, but not so nice that they got hunted. But I mean, just it's spectacular to think of. I mean, some of these smaller songbirds, I mean, they make these gigantic journeys, and
Yes.
it is
Yeah.
quite remarkable.
But, hunting may not be the worst thing that's happening to them. More climate change and severe storms
I think hunting.
and loss of insects.
Sure.
This has not been well documented, but there's a general agreement that, we used to clean our windshields 2 or 3 times on a 100-mile trip, and now
Fair
you
enough.
don't have to.
True enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think hunting is a pretty acute pressure, but I mean, yeah, the bigger picture habitat stuff and
Yeah.
food basically.
So after the Migratory Bird Act was brought in, then they hired conservation officers.
Okay.
And so on PEI, there was one guy.
Okay.
Yeah, and his name was Spurgeon Jenkins.
Okay.
Yeah, from Mount Albion.
Okay.
And where some of the Jenkins family still, has land today and so on. And he rode a horse back and forth across the island, apparently, enforcing the Migratory Birds Act.
right.
So I heard, stories about how he was outwitted. Of course, he only had a horse, right? So people would still be taking stuff illegally, but yeah.
Yeah. So, well, he sounds like quite a cowboy.
Well, I think he supplied, a lot of information. It's not that I've ever read anything that he really, that anybody wrote about him, but that he supplied information to other scientists who came here in the 1950s
Okay.
from the National Museum. So, yeah, he helped them out. He was a federal employee, too,
Okay.
so they probably knew they should, contact him. Right.
I'm sure he was quite knowledgeable.
Yeah. The bag limit for black ducks in the 1920s, it was up to like 25 birds a day or something like that. It was set very high compared to what you could do today. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4.
I'm not sure. I did encounter a black duck nest last summer.
Yes.
Deep in the woods, which
Yeah.
was quite a surprising finding for me. Like to find a ground nest of gigantic duck eggs.
Oh, yes. And was it in the woods?
Deep in the woods.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
abutting a wetland area.
Yes.
Sort of in the central district of like the southern half of Kings County. So there was it was probably like half a kilometer away from the nearest wetland. But I only time I've ever come across that, and it was a very impressive nest. Actually, there's probably 12 eggs in there, and the eggs were much larger than your typical chicken egg that you get from the grocery store.
Yeah.
And
And a lot of down.
it was very stinky. Yeah. but very very cool. I remember that. I have a photograph of it up in my office. Pertaining to how the Migratory Birds Act kind of interfaces with forestry, and the idea of trying to do forestry more efficiently and kind of increase the scope of it.
Yes.
There's a bit of a crossroads there.
Yeah, and I think the Environment Department, Canadian Wildlife Service, they, sort of looked at this issue for many, many years, that you're not supposed to destroy the nest of a migratory bird, but if you carry out forestry operations, through the nesting season, you're doing that.
You could be and not know it.
Yeah, very likely. And so now I know the province tries to keep from doing any forestry operations until August.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most of the birds have finished nesting.
Sure.
Not all, but yeah.
Yeah, because it is
so that is interesting. Yeah.
It's a really tough challenge.
I agree.
Yeah, because it's pretty much starts now.
That's right.
And if you want to be extremely cautious, not harvesting any trees from beginning of May to early August.
Yeah.
That's a tough situation to navigate because
or even June and July.
Yes.
Which is, I don't know how many people are harvesting in May anyway. Is there a lot?
It's maybe, if you're servicing debt on logging equipment, which is,
oh yes, okay,
hundreds of thousands, if
you
not
have to
a
keep
couple
going.
$1 million worth of gear, it's tough to take any time off. It's a difficult situation to handle. Like a moratorium on logging is so if you lose 1 month, it's almost 10% of your revenue. It's difficult. But I do think we can. The way I think about it is how can we do better? There's types of tree harvesting systems that we'd like to see promoted, as an alternative to high intensity harvesting, like a clear cut.
Yeah, right.
Reducing the harvesting intensity so that to regenerate hardwoods, you always want to keep a lot of shade on the site. And so you're trying, if you have maybe like a hardwood forest that's at an intermediate stage of development, very recognizable forest type where you'd have a mix of red maple, yellow birch, probably a lot of balsam fir mixed in there. You want that to advance to a more mature forest, trying to restrict harvesting to less than 50% of the timber that's there. Then you'll have lots of shade, and you're going to be favoring those more mature hardwoods like yellow birch, sugar maple, so switching from a higher intensity harvesting system to something which is lower intensity but higher frequency, with the compensating factor of a larger percentage of the total area being on rotation and cut every year.
Okay.
So from a bird impact perspective, by not cutting every tree, you're reducing some of the risk there.
Absolutely, yeah.
also my understanding is, after doing a little bit of background research on at like the sort of the cusp of this friction between for industrial development in the forestry sector and wildlife conservation, is it's rare for a bird to just be so disrupted that it just abandons the nest altogether. Usually, after the activity subsides, the bird will come back to the nest and continue caring for the
Yes,
the clutch.
unless the tree is cut.
Of course, yeah, no, that's you
Yeah.
know, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube then.
That's right. Yeah.
I think we can do better at classifying the quality of habitat, because we do have plantation forests out there, and I'm still an endorser of some plantation forestry, and I think probably, I mean, for me, I think having plantation forestry in more of like in the places of Prince Edward Island, which are more agronomically developed, I think that makes a certain amount of sense. Like there's already
Right.
impact that's spilling over from the agriculture. Concentrating our industrial kind of wood production efforts in those area makes kind of it stacks those risks up in a
I
somewhat
agree.
efficient
Yep.
way. And then switching to probably a more extensive timber harvesting strategy. So more of the areas on rotation, but the intensity is going down a little bit, and but that's also compensated by slightly higher frequency. But then you're having larger trees which are surviving through multiple rotations of harvesting entries. If I could, I think probably the habitat element, which is the most sorely lacking from PEI's forests, is large old trees.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so if we could just focus on one singular element of retention, it's trying to get more trees that are veteran trees that are surviving through many rotations.
Right on.
I think that's probably so we can kind of do a better job of presenting the habitat to some of the rarer species, and then if those elements can be protected a little bit more efficiently,
Yes.
and so we can kind of hybridize the more efficient forest management with the conservation efforts, and that's a path forward that I see, which is, I think, a compromise. And I mean, if we there's a little bit of a bargain that I think has to take place, because if a person can't make a living as a lumberjack, then all of a sudden there's no forest management, and then there's no prospect. I'm speaking in very extreme kind of.
Yeah.
I'm reasoning in absolutes here, which you should never do, but for the sake of anecdote. But if we can't support a forestry sector, then all of a sudden the prospect of using the wealth that's generated by keeping land forested goes down even lower, and then I think that kind of erodes a little bit of the strategy that I believe.
More conversion away from forest.
Yeah. So that's a
Yeah, I
little
can
bit
see
of the
that.
scales of justice, I guess.
Is anyone doing shelterwood cuts on PEI now?
We have. I'm not sure if he's here yet, but
Oh,
we
yes,
have.
okay.
We have the premier
Yes. Okay.
shelterwood harvester.
Right. Okay.
And he is going
There
to
he
come
is.
on very shortly.
Good.
But yes, yeah, and there are outfits that are doing these partial harvesting operations.